In today's video, we have breaking news. A federal judge is signaling that she may force the Trump administration to pay out SNAP benefits. Also, J.B. Pritzker is begging for mercy from Kristi Noem. He is demanding ICE to seize all operations during Halloween. In all these stories, we're going to show you what both sides are saying, but why don't we start with J.B. Pritzker and what he had to say? Take a listen.
I want to now speak directly to Greg Bovino. Mr. Bovino, your operation has sown fear and division and chaos among law-abiding residents in our communities. If you are unwilling to cease operations and leave our city, can we at least agree that our children should not be victims, especially on Halloween? Can we agree that there is no imminent threat that should disrupt their holiday? No child in America should have to go trick-or-treating in fear that they might be confronted with armed federal agents and have to inhale tear gas. I honestly can't even believe that I have to make this plea. This is not the America that I know. I ask you to restore some sanity for the sake of our children.
Okay, so bottom line up front, the governor is begging for mercy at this point. He wants ICE to stop all operations during the Halloween holiday, which out of all holidays, is that the one you really want to beg for mercy for, I guess? I don't know. But understand something. Kristi Noem and this entire mass deportation operation is not going to stop. 77 million people voted for it, and this is exactly what they're going to get. So I found it interesting that he's trying to use children and the sympathy of children to try to get them to slow down and stop. Now, here is Kristi Noem's response to all of this. Take a listen.
Yes. Governor Pritzker has asked for Operation Midway Blitz to be on pause for the holiday weekend. Are you willing to do that? And if you're not, why not?
No, we're absolutely not willing to put on pause any work that we will do to keep communities safe. The fact that Governor Pritzker is asking for that is shameful. And I think unfortunate that he doesn't recognize how important the work is that we do to make sure we're bringing criminals to justice and getting them off our streets, especially when we're going to send all of our kiddos out on the streets and going to events and enjoying the holiday season. We want to make sure that they're safe. And if you see, even up here, we have individuals that we've picked up off the streets with our ICE officers and CBP officers that have assault against a child pedophiles, rapes. Those individuals don't deserve to be on our streets, and we're certainly not going to let our kids be victimized by them.
Okay, let's ask you guys, your answers in the comment section. Do you believe ICE should take a day off because it's Halloween? Listen, according to Democrats, particularly J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson, they believe that because it's holiday and if ICE is running the streets, that they are disrupting the neighborhood. They are terrorizing the neighborhood, and kids won't be able to enjoy Halloween. Let me know how many of you guys actually buy that claim from these leaders. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't buy it for a second, but this is what they're rolling with. And the reason why they came out with this announcement is because they're trying to minimize the most important announcement that came today from Kristi Noem and ICE, and it's about commercial driver's license. Take a listen.
It's unconscionable that illegal aliens have CDLs and driving 18-wheelers across our nation. Just because some sanctuary cities want to gamble with motorist lives and let these dangerous people on the roads driving dangerous vehicles.
As the Trump administration plans a crackdown on CDLs being issued to illegal aliens, Republican lawmakers are stepping up as well, pushing for stricter requirements and a universal English proficiency test for anyone who wants to get behind the steering wheel, rather, of one of those big rigs. Let's bring in the Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem now, who's just given an update on Midway Blitz. And if I could just sort of encapsulate this, Madam Secretary, this Midway Blitz operation at the Indiana-Illinois border nabbed 223 illegal aliens, including 146 truck drivers. 40 drivers had been issued commercial driver's licenses, mostly from California, as well as New York and Illinois.
Yeah, so basically you've got Democrats still focused on who they claim to be victims, which are people who are here illegally, instead of focusing on the fact that we have people on the road driving commercial trucks who are, one, either not licensed, or two, do not speak English, or three, which is pretty much worse than all of that, They don't understand the signs in the road. They don't actually understand how to drive to the best of their ability. They're just trying to make it happen to make money, but they're putting lives at stake. Now, let's go back to the numbers here. 223 arrests, 146 were truck drivers. Okay, 146 were truck drivers. All right, let's go to Sean Duffy here. He is now saying that they may prevent California, Illinois, or New York from issuing commercial driver's license. Take a look.
But if it doesn't get rectified by the state of California and other huge violators, other states, we're going to pull their ability to actually issue a CDL. You can't issue a commercial driver's license any longer. We're going to go after the schools that don't test these drivers to make sure they're proficiently equipped to operate these big rigs on our roads. We're going to go after them. We're going to go after every link in the chain that's allowing this to happen, because, I mean, you play these clips on your show, Will. It is horrific. You have a mom and dad out with their kids on a Sunday afternoon, and they're getting rear-ended by a semi driver who's not paying attention. You have a guy driving a semi without pants on. The stories are, I think, would shock the conscience of most Americans. These people should never be on American roads.
Great point.
It reminds me financially what's wrong with this country. You have to think about the interest rates at this point. You've got to think about how high inflation has become. And you also have to think about your financial future. You think they care about your financial future, your retirement plan? Absolutely not. All you need to do is look at the results. What is the price of gold right now versus the value of the dollar? That's why I encourage you guys to reach out to Lear Capital. It's exactly what I recommended my mother-in-law to do. She was worried about her money. She was worried about the cost of living. And she does live in California, by the way. And what she was going to do moving forward with her retirement. So she wanted to take matters into her own hands, and she wanted to speak to people that could be trusted. That is Lear Capital. You want the education on how to take your hard-earned cash and put it into precious metals investing. Lear Capital is the people to talk to. So the bottom line here for me is that with all this uncertainty, reach out to my friends at Lear Capital so they can show you how gold or silver can help you. And right now, as a special, they're offering $20,000 bonus in gold or silver on a qualified purchase. All you have to do is call them at 1-800-920-8388. That number again is 1-800-920-8388. Or you could go to the link in the description below at leardevori.com. Okay, so that's the update there. I think they're doing the right thing. We got to clean this up. There's a lot of things that went wrong under the Biden administration, a lot of things that they let slide. And now we have a new sheriff in town, and they are reinforcing the law again. And so that obviously could be radical to some people, uncomfortable for some people, inconvenient for a lot of people out there, but it's the right thing to do. This is what our tax dollars are paying for, okay? So I'm happy that they're actually tracking all of this down. Now, let's go to our next update. This is the government shutdown. Vice President just came out and delivered this message to Senate Democrats. Take a listen.
Reasonable Democrats to join 3 moderate Democrats and 52 Republicans to reopen the government. I want to let Sean Duffy say something, but before I do, I just want to say to any Democrat in the United States Senate, we are happy to talk about any policy issue. We're happy to talk about health care policy. We're happy to talk about tax policy. We're happy to talk about regulatory policy, but not at the point of a gun. You do not get to take the American people's government hostage and then demand that we give you everything you want in order to pay our air traffic controllers. It's a ridiculous set of demands. Let's reopen the government, and then let's sit down and talk about how to compromise on policy for the American people.
So what's happening today basically is mainstream media continue to push back on Democrats, okay? They're feeling the heat at this point, but they are not changing their stance. I mean, it's like banging your head against the wall. They're pretty much flirting with insanity at this point, but they have not changed. It's fascinating. So what we're going to do is show you this clip from Senator Booker. He went on to CNN. Dana Bash is interviewing him, and she confronts him with the classical story. They brought on an average American who's on SNAP benefits, who's struggling. She told her story. Then Dana Bash turned around and presented that story to Senator Booker and just asked him point blank, hey, why don't you guys just open the government for people like this? Listen to his response.
I want you to listen to Elizabeth Austin. She's a single mom of 2 who relies on SNAP. She was on CNN this morning, and she was talking about what happens if and when that money runs out on Saturday.
It won't stretch. It doesn't. So we'll pull from other parts of our budget. And that means my kids will go without. My daughter's birthday's coming up. It means I'll compensate in other areas that I shouldn't have to compensate.
So you say that Republicans are being cruel, but it's also true that you just have to vote yes, and 4 other Democratic senators have to vote yes, and the government will be reopened. And Elizabeth and 800,000 constituents of yours in New Jersey will, at least in the short term, not go without food.
Well, you see the choice that the Republicans are trying to force here. Choose between New Jersey's health insurance and health coverage or feeding New Jerseyans. This is a cruel choice that they're trying to make. We're saying that the richest country in the planet Earth has the ability to do both, to lower people's health care costs and to give people the resources they need to eat.
Now, can we just talk about something really briefly here? Democrats keep talking about these rising healthcare costs, but they are the ones who created that situation to begin with Obamacare. With or without this government shutdown, healthcare costs go up every single year. It is not declining. And this is the healthcare that they all married themselves to, called Obamacare. So it's interesting that they claim that it's on Republicans to fix what they literally broke themselves. Okay. And secondly, why don't you just pass a clean CR and make it last for 30 days? That way you give yourself 30 days to come up with an agreement regarding the ACA subsidies. Why not just do that? That means you guys can do both. People can get their SNAP, and then you could talk about healthcare subsidies. There's always a way to get this done. But the way Democrats are going about it is they're literally trying to put a gun to the head of Republicans by weaponizing the government shutdown. That's just not the right way to approach it.
Well, here's the problem. If you go back to previous government shutdowns, what has happened is that sometimes the president has tried to make the shutdown as painful as possible on the American people. I give the president of the United States great credit and the entire team for trying to make this as painless as possible. The Democrats are acting irresponsibly. He doesn't want the American people to suffer because of it. But look, right now, this government, this administration, we're like guys running around, with a leak in a damn wall, trying to plug it with bubble gum. And we plug one spot with bubble gum, and we plug another spot with bubble gum, and we plug another spot with bubble gum. Why don't the Democrats just stop this entire charade and reopen the government so that we don't have to try to make this thing work on a shoestring budget, which is what we're trying to do. The unfortunate reality, and we're starting to see this with our aviation industry, we're going to find out the hard way with SNAP benefits. The American people are already suffering, and the suffering is going to get a lot worse. Not because the President of the United States has failed to make the shutdown painless. He's tried to do everything that he can to make it as unpainless as possible. The reason that pain is coming and the reason it's building is because we're not passing the clean bill to reopen the government. It's a very easy thing to do. So you're not Vice President.
Thank you. So even if, and let's just follow their logic, even if what Democrats say is true, that the president, particularly Republicans, can get SNAP benefits funded for the next couple weeks into November. Let's say that is true, okay? That still doesn't fix the problem that the government will still be shut down. That's number one. Number two, that doesn't solve their healthcare issue fight. And number three, when the money runs out again and the government is still closed, we'll be back where we are today. So the best way forward is open the government and make it temporary so that Democrats have the leverage of saying, hey, do we want to shut the government down again, or will we agree to something on this healthcare fight? I think that's fair, right? And just play it that way. At any rate, I think the principle of what Democrats are doing is much more egregious than the president not paying out 2 weeks of SNAP benefits. That's just me personally. That's how I see it. Now, the CEO of United Airlines stopped by the White House today, and he also delivered a message for Democrats and people in Congress. Take a listen.
Really thanking the professionals, the air traffic controllers, the folks at the TSA, also the FAA, the people in management. They're working hard. They are keeping the skies safe. They've minimized delays. Fewer than 2% of flights have been delayed so far because of air traffic control shortages. So they've done a great job. But it's putting stress on people. It's not fair to those people. It's also putting stress on the economy. You know, the first couple of weeks this had no impact on the economy, but as every day goes by, the impacts start to grow. And airlines are a pretty good real-time indicator of the economy, and we start to see still minor, but steep booking impact, and you see that happening in the economy. We put the whole economy at risk. And so it's been 30 days, and while I don't have a position on which partisan side and how things should be settled with healthcare. It has been 30 days. I also think it is time to pass a clean CR. Use that as the opportunity to get into a room behind closed doors and negotiate hard on the real and substantive issues that the American people want our politicians on both sides of the aisle to solve. But let's get a clean CR and get that negotiation done behind closed doors without the pressure and without putting the American workers and the American economy at risk.
So I don't disagree with him. I mean, you guys let me know how you feel about it so far in the comments section. Who do you blame for this government shutdown? And I'm going to ask you guys again, like we always do, how do you think this is going to end? Okay. Now, let's go to this next clip because this is also an update regarding the government shutdown. So Massachusetts, among other states out there, have sued the Trump administration for not paying out the emergency funds for SNAP benefits. Now, the USDA has the authority to pay out the 2 weeks worth if they want to. They don't have to. They're not mandated to. It is an option, okay? It's not required. So, of course, these states are basically making the claim that somehow USDA is, violating the law, particularly President Trump, by not paying out these benefits. Take a listen.
And what more is the judge saying in this effort to keep SNAP money flowing?
Right. So there's this pot of more than $5 billion in emergency funds just sitting at the USDA. And the Trump administration said in court today that the agency was prohibited from tapping into those emergency funds to keep the assistance benefits flowing to those 42 million Americans who rely on it. The Trump administration's lawyers also said that the agency didn't want to use those funds. And the judge really pressed them pretty hard on this, asking where in the law does it prohibit using these funds to prevent the suspension of SNAP benefits, which, by the way, SNAP benefits have never been suspended or reduced before. But the administration's lawyers struggled to really give a clear and even convincing reason for why they needed to suspend these benefits. The judge at one point was so confused by the administration's arguments that she said, quote, "Congress has put money in an emergency fund for an emergency, and it's hard for me to understand how this isn't an emergency when there's no money and a lot of people are needing their SNAP benefits."
Okay, so bottom line here is that Democrats have found a judge who's going to issue an order requiring the Trump administration to empty the bank account to pay out 2 to 3 weeks worth of SNAP benefits. You following me? Okay, that's exactly what's going to happen. But it doesn't solve the actual issue here that the government will still be shut down and people will still be unable to receive their paychecks. You see, you take away SNAP benefits, that's a problem. But you take away somebody's paycheck, now you really have problems. That's what federal employees are going through. But this is the fight that Democrats want. They think this is the right approach instead of just opening the government, and we don't have to waste taxpayer dollars on going to the courts. Again, that's just me.
Look, the bottom line, and we took a position, I represent 1.3 million working men and women in this country for the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. We took a position 3 weeks ago. Pass a clean CR, get to the table, negotiate a deal. Do not put working people in the middle of a problem they should not be in there. And we got to think about the families that are going to be affected. Think about when you have to tell your son or daughter they can't play sports because you're not getting paid. Think about when you can't pay your mortgage. Think about when you can't pay your tuition. Put the politics aside, get to the table, negotiate a deal, pass a clean CR right now, and then figure out the problems moving forward. And I want to thank the air traffic controllers. I want to thank the aviation administration for all their hard work and sacrifice they make. And look, security and safety of the airlines is paramount. Let's not compromise the safety and security. Pass a clean CR. Thank you.
I mean, how many times do we have to hear the same thing? Pass a clean CR. The House passed a clean CR. It's the Senate, particularly Democrats, who refuse to vote on it. And when they do, which has happened 13 times, the answer has been no from them. And so there's nothing much more to say. And in case you need more evidence about where Democrats stand, as of October 30th, Thursday of 2025, hear it here from Representative Garcia. Take a listen.
Look, I don't believe that there's a scenario where Democrats are going to cave and allow healthcare costs to skyrocket, nor should we take that position. I don't think people in the Republican Party understand that right now people cannot afford their health insurance to double. They can't afford their grocery prices to continue to skyrocket. And so I think what Leader Thune is trying to do is create division with us. We are united.
All right, let's go to our next update, which I find this to be entertaining. So you guys know about the individual who's running to serve in Congress out of Illinois, who was recently federally indicted for impeding ICE agents outside the Broadview, Illinois detention facility. Okay, so I guess she thought it was smart to go onto this podcast, and she was confronted with the brutal truth. So then she ended up rage quitting. Take a listen.
Just to be clear, the indictment alleges that you and others, quote, surrounded a federal officer's vehicle, banged on its hood and windows, etched pig on the side, and impeded movement. Did you etch the word pig on the side of an officer's car?
I'm not speaking to the specifics of anything that's in the indictment right now, but like I said, I do plan on pleading not guilty, and the evidence will come out in court, and I plan on winning.
Okay. Well, let's watch the video of what happened that day that they are alleged. But when you see that, what do you think right now?
Tara, once again, this is my first time being federally indicted. Like I said, I plan on pleading not guilty. The evidence will come out in court, and I plan on winning. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Just really quickly, I did want to ask you about just the fact that conspiracy to impede an officer is up to 6 years in prison, forcibly impeding and intimidating an officer is up to 8 years. Is that that could actually hinder your ability to serve in Congress? Are you concerned about that? Did she just sign off? Did she just leave the chat? I'm so confused. I'm sorry. I don't know what just happened. Okay. Well, she left because I asked her questions about what happened that day.
Yeah, that is just pure gold. I mean, she is one of 8 people now to be indicted for impeding these law enforcement officers who are outside the Broadview detention facility. Also, I guess etching the word pig on one of the government vehicles. And so at the end of the day, it is very clear that Democrats continue to prove that they're willing to side with illegal aliens over American citizens, that they're willing to side with people who are lawless over law and order, and they expect majority of the country to put them back in power. That just doesn't make any sense. Now, what's stunning is this new study that's been put out about the violence against ICE officers. It was 1,000 a month ago. Now it's an 8,000% increase. Take a listen.
Here are the number of threats against ICE agents. Up 8,000 when it comes to death threats. What do you think happened here in LA, and what's the effect of that?
Yeah, that number is staggering. I had to do a double take when I first read it, 8,000%. But what they did in LA, what the federal government did and the Trump administration did was so important, what they did yesterday by arresting these people, because like the U.S. attorney said, this is not a game. These are real people. These are federal agents, and they are doing what they're required to do. They're not just making a political elective. They have a requirement to enforce immigration law, and the Democrats have been using these riots, these protests, as sort of a backdoor to amnesty, and I'm glad he said this, that it's not going to be effective. They're going to continue to enforce the law.
Yeah, it's just interesting. So many things have happened up to this point in Trump's second presidency here, and how Democrats have chosen to literally do the thing that lost them the election, which is to disconnect from reality. Working with the Trump administration, collaborating with federal authorities is really the best way forward at this point, not to continue to, fight back against them. You're only going to put more innocent people in harm's way. It just doesn't make any sense. All right, well, that's what I think about it. But what about you? Why don't you guys let me know how you feel about everything we discussed in this video in the comments section below, starting with Kristi Noem and JB Pritzker. This guy, he is low as you can get, using children to try to beg for mercy from Kristi Noem so she can stop running midway blitz. Okay, that means getting the worst out of Illinois. It's fascinating. Let me know how you guys feel about that. Secondly, the government shutdown. You heard what the vice president had to say, and then you see how the heat is continuing to turn up for Democrats. At this point, everybody knows what's going on with them. I think their messaging is starting to fail, if that makes sense. United Airlines CEO was out there obviously demanding this government shutdown to end. So at any rate, let me know how you guys feel about that. And then finally, this 8,000% increase of death threats on ICE officials. I mean, that is crazy. Just give me all your thoughts and everything you got in the comments section below. Now we go to our next video. Kamala Harris continues to suffer when she's doing these interviews. Yes, she's continuing to do more interviews to sell her book about what happened during the 107 days of her election campaign, which obviously failed in the end. Well, this reporter from Australia confronted her with a brutal question, and everything went off the rails from there. So if you guys missed out on that update and more about President Trump's visit to Asia, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.